Good afternoon, CFM. It's Coach Mathur. Tuesday workout. We've got a lot of detail in the workout today, as well as some weightlifting. If I look at today versus yesterday, 5-minute workout, short duration, high intensity, heavyweight, call that a red day. I would like to see the red line. Today is more of a green day, more detail. The weight is relatively lighter, a lot more accessory work in it. So if yesterday was an up day, today's a down day. Focus on the detail of all the different movements. Let's begin with the warm-up. 2 rounds through. Start with a 600-meter jog at a little bit of a lower pace. Second round, begin with a 400-meter jog at a little bit of a quicker pace. When you get back in, we're going to do this exercise called a hip slide. So I'm going to have a bench or a box, something that when I raise my knee up to about horizontal, or my quad to horizontal, I want my foot to be floating above the surface of the object, all right? And now I'm going to kick my leg back and try to slide my foot across the top, or it's like an imaginary slide across the top of this bench. And I'm trying to do it without touching my toe to the bench, right? The higher up the bench is, or the box is, the more challenging it is to do that, right? You can imagine if this was 2 or 3 inches higher, I wouldn't be able to keep my toe up off the bench. But I'm trying to get into this internally rotated position here without moving my hips, and then coming back to that high knee position, internally rotate, and then pull back to that high knee position, right? 5 reps on each leg. Next, we're gonna do some scap push-ups. So just get down on the ground, elbows totally straight, slowly shrug the shoulders back behind, and then squeeze back up to that tall position. Nice and slow, not a huge range of motion, but the elbows do not bend when we do that, okay? Oops, excuse me. Next one we're gonna do is standing quad pulls. So either bracing against something or just out in free space. Reach the hand as far away from the knee on the little stretching as you can when we do those quad pulls. Then we're gonna do some toe touch to overhead reach. So take these real slow. Reach all the way up as high as you can, both hands, and then down gently, tucking the chin first, rolling the spine down until we get down to the hands towards the feet, and then back up to that tall position. And then again, slow is gonna be our cat-cow. So just from the quadruped position, extending the spine and then flexing the spine, arching all the way up. This should feel nice and gentle, good, just pumping blood and synovial fluid around the vertebrae and the spaces in between them, just to ensure good movement of all the vertebrae, okay? Next, we're gonna go into our strength superset. I want you to start at about 40% of your max shoulder press or strict press, but the movement for today is a combo of push press and bent over barbell row. So if your max is 100 pounds, then we're gonna go down to about 40, and I want you to try to add 5% per set. And that can be approximate. You don't have to be super accurate on the percentages today, because they're supposed to be in the lower range up to about half of whatever your max is, all right? So it's going to be 8 reps of a push press, followed by 8 reps immediately of that bent over barbell row. So we're gonna walk into the rack, pick that bar up with the shoulders, take a big step back, driving through the heels, dip, drop, press, reset, dip, drop, press, reset. When I get to 8, I'm gonna bring that bar down to my hips, take my feet back to a perfectly straight position underneath the hips, slide down with the back nice and straight, row and touch the sternum, okay? I wanna make sure I'm not rowing this like sitting up and like rowing it into my lap like that. That doesn't give me the good range of motion on the lats that I want. I wanna try to row and touch about the bottom of my sternum, right? That's where I wanna be. When I'm done, put that bar back in the rack, add that 5%, and go on to my next set. Don't have to worry about resting too much in between sets on this one, because this is on the deload cycle of our upper body push pull. So it should not be too awful when we do this one, okay? When you finish with the, 4 sets of 8 and 8, then we're gonna go into our accessory lifts. Next, the bar can go to the floor, and we're gonna have a little bit of an asymmetrical load on the bar, because what we'll be doing is our landmine row to press will be the feature movement of this next set. And this is gonna be 3 rounds through, not for time. It's accessory and core pace, right? So when we do this, we'll have one end of the barbell on the floor. The other end is going to be the working end, and that's the end that you would put weights on. Only use the small metal plates for this, okay? So you can use, 2 or 3 tens is usually a good amount to do it. But since we're gonna pause at the top of the movement, make sure that you have an amount of weight that you can control when you hit that lockout position. And it's going to be 8 reps on each side. So I'll take one foot just beneath the collar. The other foot should stand about in line, or ankle just about in line with the bar. With my good posture, I'm gonna reach down, grab the middle of the bar, and I'm gonna row it up as I get the bar up to my chest position, switching hands, and I'm going to pivot and extend and hold. And I'm pausing at the top in that lockout position. And then back, switch hands again at my chest, and then back down. So in full speed is row and press, back down, row and press, back down. 8 reps on each side for that. That's called a landmine row to press. All right, the next one are all just accessory things that we've done in the past. Shoulder accessory exercise is our band face pull. So I've got the very smallest band that we have. Don't feel like you have to use a big heavy band on this, because you won't get the full range of motion at the finish, right? Thumbs pointed down, hands are about shoulder width apart. I'm gonna row and rotate outward with that band up over the top of my head, or a band like kind of towards my face. I wanna make sure that my elbows don't tuck down when I do this. Make the elbows lead the way the whole time, and keep those elbows at the same height or higher than your shoulders when you do that. Next one, bridge knee raises, okay? So for this one, I can just be on the ground, laying on my back. Bridge just means I'm planting my feet and punching my hips up in the air. And from this position, I'm going to do alternating knee raises. Bring one knee up, stomp those feet, put the hips back up. Every time I bring my knee down, squeeze the glutes again, pull the hips up. Try to make it from the glutes and not from your low back. So you don't want to arch your back or extend your spine when you do this. You want to make it about the glutes. So that means we got to keep the knees at about 90, right? If I bring my knees in too close, I'll stretch my quads out too much, knees too far away, and I'll only feel it in the hamstrings. So I want them right about 90 degrees, and we're just alternating that march, driving the heel into the ground every single time, okay? All right, next one, fire hydrant. So rotate over to our quadruped position, and now we're just doing from the side, externally rotate the leg, and we're doing all 8 reps. So just opening the hips up from that quadruped position. See why we call it the fire hydrant. And then the last one is just V sit-up. So you can go back to your back, and we're doing heels off the ground the whole time, sit up, shoulder blades off the ground, and reach towards those toes. If you can touch your toes, that's great, but you don't need to. What you need to do is get your shoulder blades up off the ground, right? So if that's really hard just because of core strength, I want to work on a negative on the V sit-up. So think about like a hollow rock where I've got my knees tight to my quads. I'm gonna rock up until I'm balanced up here, and then slowly try to lower myself down. Tuck tight, rock up, slowly try to lower myself down, okay? And we're going through 3 rounds of that. You should get sweaty. You should be a little bit out of breath, but it should not be anywhere near the intensity that we hit yesterday. Everybody have a great one. I'll see you for our workout on Wednesday.